When Colonel Percy Fawcett set off to look for the lost city of Z in the year 1925, he didn't know that things were about to go horribly wrong. What soon would follow would be the strangest disappearance of the 20th century, which left millions of questions in its wake with no answers. This is the story of how three 20th century explorers seem to have vanished off the face of the earth. Colonel Percy Fawcett was, in one word, formidable. With his tales of his adventure reaching far and wide all around Britain, Fawcett had built a reputation for his exploration and heroic survival in South America, where he battled wild animals, extreme weather, and deadly insects lurking in the jungles. All the things that could have killed anyone else. But where others faltered, Fawcett thrived. Most of all, what earned him his reputation was the number of times he managed to escape the ferocious native tribes, if only barely. He had once called the Amazon forest the last great blank space of the world, and he fully believed that it was his life's purpose to fill in the missing gaps. Ever since 1906, Fawcett had made several expeditions into the dense Amazon forest in hopes of locating a new city or a civilization. He called it the City of Z. His obsession with the City of Z began with a 1753 description by a Portuguese hunter who explored the Amazon forest and came across a city of great size and grandeur hidden in the depths of the forest. Fawcett was intrigued. What advanced city could possibly be hiding away this deep in the forest? And as the years went by, Fawcett's obsession with this city grew even stronger. He had twice tried to look for it, only to be driven out of the forest by bad weather, insects, and other dangers. But he reasoned that the third time might be the charm. So in 1925, he geared up for his third try after securing funding from the Royal Geographical Society. Though he could have taken any experienced explorer into the journey, Fawcett decided to take his 21-year-old son Jack and Jack's friend Raleigh Rymel with him. By the end of January, the three explorers set sail from New Jersey, promising that they would bring back what they were looking for and warning everyone that if they got lost, to not look for them. And just like that, the three men said their goodbyes and ventured out into the unknown, never to be seen by their families again. From then on, the details get a little murky. We know that Fawcett first sailed to Rio de Janeiro and then went deeper into more remote areas of Cuiabá. We know that over there they purchased pack animals and also hired two native guides for the rest of the journey. Then, on April 20th, 1925, Fawcett, Jack, and Raleigh, along with the two native guides, entered the Amazon forest with a whole crowd of natives watching them step into the deep unknown within. This crowd said that this was the last time they would ever see the three explorers again. At first, the biggest problem they faced upon their entry was not the sweltering heat, the tribes, or even the rabid animals. It was insects, mosquitoes, ticks, gnats. That's what the three explorers dealt with in the beginning. Sleep was difficult to come, and waking up in the morning for yet another day of walking 10 to 15 miles was even harder. Nevertheless, Fawcett persisted, and the younger travelers Jack and his friend Raleigh found it difficult to keep up with him. On May 19th, it was Jack's 22nd birthday, and in his letter to his mother, he wrote that despite the lurking dangers of the woods, he had never felt so well. The letter was hopeful, and one of the last he would ever write. But while the Fawcetts were hopeful, Raleigh was growing very anxious, writing to his brother in a letter that the Fawcetts can have all my share of notoriety and be welcome to it. Raleigh complained about the heat, the insects, and the fact that he couldn't remember the last time he had a good night's sleep. It also just so happened that Raleigh woke up one day to find his foot extremely painful and swollen from tick bites. On May 29th, the trio entered the territory of Tsavante. This tribe was known for not trusting any white men. This time though, Fawcett was hopeful, assuring his wife in a letter that he had met a lot of Indians and knew what to do and what not to do. They unloaded their equipment and sent their guides away. It appears that Fawcett also offered Raleigh to return with the guides as well, since Fawcett feared that he was too weak, too reluctant, and would become a burden later on. But Raleigh refused to leave. It's unclear why he made the decision, and then they seem to have vanished into thin air. There's no evidence to show that the three explorers actually entered the tribe, but it most likely seems that they did. Back at home, Nina was blissfully unaware. By 1927, newspapers began calling Fawcett a fool for not just thinking he could triumph in a journey that so many died in, but also dragging his son along with him. Most people assumed that he had died, but Nina insisted that they were still out there, alive and well. But there were other theories as well. Some assumed that he was still alive and had simply gone native and lived in the jungle. Some people claimed that he had been taken captive by the natives and held for ransom. In 1928, the first official search party was sent by the Royal Geographical Society under the command of George Miller Dyatt. When Dyatt emerged from the jungle, he was fully convinced that the three men had died, but he admitted that he saw no sign of their bodies. But in 1937, one explorer was going through the Amazon forest along the same path that the two Fawcetts and Raleigh had taken 12 years back. And when she came across the Quikura village, she met a boy with pale skin and blue eyes. The natives told her that he was the son of Jack Fawcett, who had settled in the area and had a child with a native woman. She insisted that she wanted to take this boy back to America, where the rest of his family awaited him, but the natives were vehemently opposed to this idea. She returned home and wrote these strange findings in her book. In 1943, tabloids picked up the story of Fawcett's alleged grandson. Later on, it would be revealed that the child was not Jack's, but in fact one of the very rare Indians in the region who was born albino. As for the Fawcetts, they seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Even as late as 1950, Nina held on to the hope that her husband and son were still alive. But in April of 1951, a government official who was on good terms with the native Indians met them and announced that Galapagos had personally admitted to him that they had killed 3 explorers. Not just that, the government official claimed to have found possibly the most horrific evidence of Fawcett's death: his rotting bones. But when the bones were taken back to London and examined, it was revealed that the upper jaw of the skull did not match Fawcett's, and it was observed that these were the bones of a 5'7" man. Colonel Fawcett was nearly 6'1". But since 1925, questions regarding Fawcett's disappearance kept being brought up by the people. There were more search parties sent to look for the men. From these search parties alone, 100 people died in the forest. Even in 1996, a search party was sent out. Led by a wealthy businessman, James Lynch, this search party was taken into captivity by the native Indians and held for ransom. They were only released once they gave up $30,000 worth of equipment. And while the mystery behind this strange disappearance has stayed strong even to this day, the truth is, nobody might ever know what happened to the 3 men that had set out to look for the city of Z.